So, long story short, I was given the opportunity to go to Tokyo, Japan on a missions trip with my sister and my cousin and a group of
That's gonna be so
I
ugly.
can't remember, 12 other people, I think. It was a lot. I'm editing this a month later, a little behind on this. But anyways, went to Tokyo, Japan, brought my camera and GoPro, documented it all. This will be a different type of video, more me voicing over footage of cool stuff that I saw. It was a really amazing trip though, and I hope you guys enjoy. So after about 16 hours of flying, we landed at the airport in Tokyo. From there, we hopped in a line to do something with our passports. I don't remember. I'm too stupid for this. And then after that, we got our train cards so we could ride the trains.
I'm starving.
And then from there, we went and rode on the trains, which was pretty cool. I had never been on a train before.
I've always wanted to go on a train, bro.
Me too.
After that, we hopped off the train and walked the rest of the way to our hotel rooms. And the entire time it took to get from the airport to the hotel room took about an hour and a half. But yeah, that concludes day one. Day two, let's go. So we woke up the next morning around 8:30ish, 9 o'clock maybe, which was about 14 hours ahead of what it would be here in America. Somehow I did not have jet lag, thank the Lord. My sister, cousin, and I head down to a konbini right down the street, looked around, grabbed some food. I got myself a little sushi bowl thing. And then from there, we walked and hopped on a bus and made our way to meet Sarah, a local missionary who lives in Japan. I didn't film us at her place, and full disclosure, there's a lot of this trip I didn't film simply because it was a missions trip, so not necessarily the most appropriate to just film everything. But anyways, from there, Sarah took us to a mall. The mall was pretty dope. It was 4 or 5 levels high, each level containing several restaurants. So we searched around and looked for a place to eat. The girls and I split off, found a little supermarket on one of the upper levels and grabbed some food. We ate outside on a little balcony area.
Oh, yeah.
After eating, we explored a little bit, got a nice view of the street below us, and went around on the inside of the mall. They had a Pokemon store, which is dope. I'm not a Pokemon guy, but it was still kind of cool. After exploring for a bit, we met back up with the group to leave. We saw a little robot on our way out. And from there, we started walking around the city for a bit, Sarah leading us. We made our way past a Japanese cemetery. All the graves were much more exotic and expensive. I don't know, man. I just thought that the graves were pretty cool. Anyways, from there, we just did some walking and some more walking. Eventually, we made our way to Waseda University, which is one of the top universities in Tokyo, if not Japan, I think. We learned some history here and there about the campus and founders. And we walked around the campus, got a look around. It was really pretty, really cool.
Yeah, I got that on camera.
From there, we stopped to grab a little snack called taiyaki. It's a little fish-shaped pancake with beans in it. It was a very unique pastry. It wasn't bad though. And then from there, Sarah led us to the Meiji Jingu Shrine. Meiji
Jingu.
I don't care. It's a big old shrine with this big old trail behind it. We made our way down the trail. Really pretty, really quiet, very nice. Temperature was perfect. Got some ice cream. They had a little old temple in the back. You know, like one of those places you see in Karate Kid or Ip Man, you know, where they fight, you know, in those little dojos, you know. It was pretty dope. After exploring the trail, we made our way to another big mall. They had a cool, nature cafe with some cool art here and there. And at the top of the mall, there's a really nice view of the city. So we looked out on the balcony up there for a little bit. After that, our group made their way to the Kyota sushi bar right across the street. You sit down, and at the end of your table are these 2 tracks, and on the tracks come sushi. And from the bottom one, you can just pull whatever you want off of it, and then on the top track, you can order through this little iPad whatever specific sushi you want, and it'll come zooming to your table. Let's just say we ate a lot. Our trip lead, Jake, he actually had me and my cousin try this really disgusting fermented sushi thing. I forgot what it was, but it was not good. I took it like a champ, though.
That's not good.
After dinner, it was getting pretty late, so we made our way back home. But me and our group leader, Jake, we were still wanting to do something, so he and I, literally just us two, went out and did karaoke to close out the night. And it was a pretty good time. But yeah, and then after that, went back home, went to bed. Day 3, let's go. So, we woke up. My sister and I got some breakfast from the McDonald's right across the street. And then from there, the group made its way through rain and by train to Minato Station, which I believe is the biggest, if not one of the biggest, train stations in Japan. There we made our way outside and handed out brochures for a little while. After that, we grabbed some Mexican food for lunch, and then we made our way to a Don Quixote store, which is this big old 7-story building full of just about anything you can find in it. So we made our rounds, went up and down. I got myself a couple souvenirs. There's a lot of cool stuff in there. After we were done there, the group made its way to Shibuya Crossing, which is the world's busiest crosswalk, with as many as 3,000 people crossing at a time. It's pretty much the equivalent of Times Square, but in Tokyo, and with a lot more people. So once our group made its way across, we walked around for a while, checked out some shops. We ended up stopping by an IKEA store that was like 8 stories tall, just 8 stories of furniture. It was my first time ever in an IKEA store, so that was kind of cool. We eventually made our way back and waited for the group to meet up by the statue of Hachiko, which was a Japanese Akita dog remembered for his undying loyalty to his owner. His owner died May 21st, 1925, and for every single day after that, until Hachiko's death on March 8th, 1935. So for almost 10 years, the dog returned to Shibuya Station every single day to await his owner. Hachiko is held up in Japanese culture as an example of loyalty and fidelity. He's kind of like Balto, but in Japanese culture. After that, we decided to end the day at an onsen, which, due to YouTube guidelines, I can't show any footage of. But basically, it's a bathhouse, and you just get naked, and you sit in tubs of hot water. I'm not going to say anything else other than it was amazing. That was awesome, dude.
Life-changing, bro.
After that, we walked home in the rain and went to bed, and I slept like a baby. Oh my gosh. So we started the day by getting some food at the Konbini down the street. I got myself a little meat sandwich, hamburger looking thing, and some matcha bread, which was delicious. Once everyone was ready, we made our way to a really nice bougie area of the city and came upon the Imperial Gardens. The Imperial Gardens is a historical garden in the Tokyo Imperial Palace. The gardens were first built under the Tokugawa shogunate, but it was not a garden originally. It was more of a palace. Typically, the heir to the shogun lived there. So the area used to be the grounds of Edo Castle, but it was destroyed multiple times. So the construction of what is now the Imperial Gardens began back in 1961 and was completed in 1968. It's free real estate. And it is completely free to the public. You can just walk in and check out the area. It is so cool. It's also one of the only areas in Tokyo that you can actually, quite literally, touch grass. So like I mentioned earlier, the ruins of Edo Castle are still there, which are these stone half-cut pyramids. Sarah had actually given us a little lesson in the garden about some history about the imperial family, but I don't remember really everything that she said, so I'm just going to leave out any history for that. It was very cool nonetheless. It was one of my favorite parts of the trip. After we left the gardens, we walked a ways down the road and found ourselves at a park with a big old samurai statue in the middle of it. This was the statue of the samurai Kusunoki Masashi. I think I pronounced it right. I don't know. Kusunoki was a Japanese samurai of the Kamakura period, remembered as the ideal loyal samurai. Kusunoki was very loyal to the unpopular Emperor Go-Daigo, and it was eventually commanded to lead an attack that would surely end in his death, and he died at the Battle of Minetogawa. Kusunoki became a popular legend in Japan representing loyalty and virtue, and is associated with the phrase,
"Would that I had 7 lives to give for my country."
After the park, we walked around a bit more and began looking for a place to eat. We ended up passing by the Toho Screen and Stage building with a big old Shin Godzilla statue on the front. That was pretty tight. We ended up stopping by this ramen joint. I could not remember for the life of me what it was called. Really humble little spot with a whole bunch of signed autographs from a bunch of popular people in Japan throughout the entirety of the room. I got some spicy ramen, and that stuff was bussin'. After lunch, we did some exploring, went through some cool, pretty alleyways throughout the area. Then we hopped on a train and headed to another area of the city. We got some snacks and refreshments and some candy. After that, we went to a store that had a bunch of stuff in it, as, you know, stores do, where I learned that Japanese people take their pens very seriously. There's a whole buttload of pens that were just hundreds of dollars. Super nice and exquisite pens of all different shapes and sizes. At the store, they had like a little outdoor balcony area, so I chilled out there for a little bit. It was pretty nice. After we were done there, we ended up going to a little alleyway called Omoide Yokocho, which translates to Memory Lane, which has over 70 tiny bars and barbecue stands all the way down it. Our group ended up splitting up a bit. Some people went off to get some food, and my group just kind of looked around for a little while. We found a little bridge that we went up on to watch all the cars below us, and it was such a beautiful sight, especially with the sun setting around that time. And then we topped off the day with some group karaoke.
I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a heartache.
So we started the day making our way to Sensei Temple, one of the big attractions in Tokyo. Before we could get to the temple, though, we had to pass through I'm going to butcher this, like I've been butchering everything, the Kaminarimon Gate, which is the outer of 2 large entrance gates that ultimately lead to the Sensei Temple. We passed through the Kaminarimon Gate into a long lane of little gift stores and food shops. At the end of the long lane, we could see the Hoseman Gate, which is the gate right before the temple. So we fought our way through the crowd until we reached the second gate. Once we passed through the Hoseman Gate, we entered the courtyard for the Sensei Temple. Sensei Temple is a Buddhist temple dedicated to Kennen, the Buddhist god of compassion. It is Tokyo's oldest established temple and one of its most significant. The original temple was destroyed in a firebombing air raid on Tokyo on March 10, 1945, and has been perceived as a symbol of rebirth and peace by Japanese people. The architecture was absolutely beautiful. I could not get enough of it. After a while of admiring the structure, we made our way back through the long lane of shops and grabbed some souvenir items. I got one of those Japanese bathroom kimono things. I love it. The group eventually met by the Kaminarimon Gate, and we then split up from there and went to lunch. So some of the boys and I walked around and found a burger joint called Lux Burgers. I have no words to describe the burgers there other than... The burgers there were phenomenal. Just going to say that. Soon after that, we did some more exploring around the city and then met together as a group once again and did a prayer walk around one of the Christian universities. Soon after that, it was dinner time already, and my cousin and I were really hungry for some Subway, so we stopped by Subway. I got a teriyaki Subway sandwich, and she got a shrimp Subway sandwich. And they were busting, let me tell you. It was getting pretty late, so we took a bus back to the hotel to get some sleep. At the elevator for our hotel, there's a little screen that allows us to see who's on the elevator, which allowed us to capture this epic shot.
She's still going.
So earlier in the day, I'd gotten some toys from a Japanese gumball toy dispenser thingy. I forgot what they're called. So when we got up to our room, I pulled them out to see what I got. And one of them, I got like a wine container thing that had a bunch of nuts on it, which is cool, I guess. And another one, I got a toy Gundam that you have to put together. I don't think I put it together correctly because I couldn't really read the instructions, so I kind of just guessed. But, yeah, oh well. So, we woke up day 6 and made our way to the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building, where we hopped on an elevator that took us up like 45 stories. And at the top, we could see the entire city. The view was spectacular. I didn't realize just how big Tokyo was. The city spanned as far as I could see. I was told on a good day you could see Mount Fuji, but unfortunately it was cloudy, so we couldn't see it. So there were 2 observation decks. So we made our way to the second one, and in the second one, there was a piano set up with a line of people just waiting their turn to play it. And of course, everybody that played was super talented and played some, Beethoven, Mozart stuff. But then, an older Japanese gentleman hopped on the piano and started playing the soundtrack from Interstellar. And honestly, this became one of my favorite parts of the entire trip. So after oogling out the windows a bit longer and getting some cool shots, we all bought some souvenirs from the gift shop and then we dipped for lunch. My sister, cousin, and I grabbed some stuff from a sushi bar, and then we went across the street to a Wendy's to eat because the restaurant we bought the food from couldn't seat us. After lunch, we met up with some local missionaries and chat for a bit. They actually showed us this old classic Japanese house from World War II era. So a very old classic architecture Tokyo home. So we got a tour through it, and it was really cool. Much different from any house you would see in America, but I was enthralled nonetheless. After that, we all decided to split up into little groups and explore the city a little bit. So my sister, cousin, and I went to H&M because that was literally the only place they wanted to go. And then we eventually headed home, where we ended the night watching some Jurassic World in Japanese dub, which was oddly more entertaining than watching it in English.
She's adopted.
So we woke up and took the train about an hour out to Kawagoe, a little city in Japan northwest of Tokyo. Kawagoe is an Edo period castle town, known for its old clay warehouses and merchant homes. It's somewhat of a historic town, with older Japanese architecture and buildings everywhere. The place was full of little businesses and shops to check out, and so we just explored and looked around for a couple hours.
Said the wrong kind of thank you. Mashita is
Yeah.
like after everything is done.
Yeah.
But I still have to pay her.
Oh.
It's yuzu, honey. I don't know what that is.
By the time we made it back to the city, it was already dinner time. So we split off into different groups to get some food. My group made its way to a quaint little park with a konbini located at it, and we grabbed some dinner there and sat down and watched people play in the park while we ate. Saw Dad throwing a ball around with his son. Saw a bunch of kids playing soccer. It's a whole group of kids all practicing different talents and tricks like juggling and yo-yoing and basketballing, and the whole scene was just really wholesome. After that, we made our way to a little church and had a Saturday night church service, which I didn't really film because, it's church. And after that, me and some of the boys made our way to the onsen again to get one last hot spring session in before we ended up leaving. And that is the conclusion to day 7. Day 8, our final full day in Tokyo. It was a Sunday, so we started the day off going to a church in the area, and then from there we just kind of did whatever we wanted. We all split off into different groups, so us boys just kind of walked around the city to check out some sights. We stopped by and explored a giant multi-level guitar store full of really nice guitar stuff and guitars. At the top level, there's a full section of really expensive guitars that were really pretty to look at. I'm not a guitar guy, but I wanted to be in that moment. From there, we got some grub at another Mexican food joint, which was pretty good. And then after that, we decided to make our way to the Godzilla Hotel. Navigating was really difficult for us dudes because, boys are stupid. So it took us forever to get there. But we eventually made it and then found out that the Godzilla head at the top of the hotel was closed. But we still got to see it, so that was cool. It's whatever. So I'm not salty about it. After that, it started raining, so we just went back to the hotel for a bit. Eventually, the group got back together, and we all decided we wanted to top off the trip by getting some dinner and seeing the Rainbow Bridge, which was about an hour away. So we hopped on a couple trains and got to see some really cool sights of the city on our way there. So after looking at the Rainbow Bridge and the Statue of Liberty in the rain, we found a spot we wanted to eat at. It was a little Chinese joint that was basically a soup buffet. You walk in, you get a big bowl, and then presented in front of you is a full shelf of miscellaneous items that you can just throw into the bowl. And then you select what kind of noodles you want and how spicy you want it, and you give them the bowl and they dish up a really scrumptious meal. It was very good. It was also the most expensive meal the entire trip. It was like 4,500 yen, which is, I don't know, like $30 maybe. I don't remember. Anyways, I didn't really record anything after that, so that kind of concludes our final full day in Tokyo. So originally there was going to be a day 9, which was just us leaving Tokyo that I filmed, and this video is just getting way too long, and I'm sick and tired of editing it, so I'm just not even going to bother. But, conclusion, Tokyo. What did I think of it? Bro, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a travel person. I've never cared to travel the world. I've never cared to see all the sights. I'm happy with where I am. I'm satisfied of everything I need. And yet, by day 2 being in Tokyo, it felt like home. And honestly, I literally thought to myself, I am willing to leave everyone and everything I know and love behind to live here. Which is very unlike me. So we'll see if the honeymoon phase dies out. Right now, I still want to live there someday. I'd like to sign up and get some classes, start learning the language a bit. But, we'll see. All that being said, it was amazing. I'm so thankful for everybody that went on the trip. I didn't really feature the group that much because, I didn't want to be sticking a camera in everyone's face. But shout out to Jake and Krista for leading the trip and making sure everyone was taken care of. And shout out to Sarah for just being an amazing tour guide and source of knowledge and just all around hospitable to everybody. You were great. Also, shout out to my sister and my cousin for getting me to go in the first place. I'm so thankful and happy that I went. I cannot wait to go back, and I cannot recommend it enough to go. It was truly a life-changing trip.
未完成な